What's up, homies? Welcome to Closing Paid Chillcast, episode episode 4. It is now past Halloween, but we're going to do a bit of a spooky episode. Or we were going to do a spooky episode because we were going to do it on Google Meets, where we can change our background to like pumpkins and shit. But we're back to the boring Riverside. Anyway, I'm sure that was all boring for you. So this episode is going to be about just calling out the elephant in the room. This episode is going to be about moving from pitch, right, to closing, or at least from pitch to kind of talking about pricing, right? Because it's this like really fucking important bit in a call where we can actually really control things in our favor, right? And what I mean by that is for all of those of you who wait till the end to bring up the price, right? There's no right or wrong there. That's fine. We do it in many ways. If you do that, once you bring up price, there's an unspoken rule. And the rule is once you've brought up the price, you do not want to be talking about anything else that came from that direction, i.e., any of the process stuff, the pitch, the breakdown, the admin, any of that stuff that you've already spoken about, right? Ryan, I'm sure you've been in situations before. Tell me how annoying it is when you go, cool, so it's 60K, or you can break it down into some payments. What do you think?
And they
Then
just asked like the stupidest fucking question that you talked about like 20 minutes ago. Yeah.
fucking hell, man, it's
I think it's something I probably never even like realized before like you were given that feedback on like call reviews where it's like you say a price, hey, it's 65K. And they're like, okay, but like what do I get for that? And it's like a stupid fucking question, but I think a lot of closers get in the position of like almost wanting to like sell them super hard, going off on these like fucking spiral tangents, talking about all the features, the benefits, and how great it is. And
Mhm.
stuff like that. But it just kind of like derails things. I never really thought about it that way until like again very recently, I guess in the last like year or so with your call reviews. And basically how to like structure it that way where like almost tying things off where like after the price you should be in a position where you don't really talk about anything else beside the price. And we were also having a conversation the other day about like objection handling. And it's so weird because it's like where does it even kind of come in? Because so many objections should just be pre-vetted prior to that where again after you say price like the only objection you should get is I don't have that much money or
Right.
something along those lines. But yeah, to your point, just about like systemizing the entire call, it's like know what you should be having a conversation about at every point of the way. And that's very important from like the pitch to the close.
Yeah, it's like, do you know what? What people don't realize, bro, you fall into this false sense of security. You pitch the price, and then they go, "Oh, wait a minute, what do I get for that? How many of that do I get? What's the guarantee?"
Mm-hmm.
It's all a smoke screen. They've heard it, like they know it, right? And so what people do is, and I believe this is kind of subconscious. They don't literally think to themselves, "Okay, I need to throw a smoke screen so I can delay things."
Yeah.
But it happens because it's like people don't want that pressure to be on them. Even if it's not kind of lots of sales pressure, it's just you sitting by yourself with the weight on your shoulders of 60K. That's what's in your mind. So anything that comes to mind will get, I can say anything and it will get you to go off, start talking about other shit. And so I can sit there and go, think about how I'm going to, attack this, right? So people say, wait, what happened there? What happened there? What about this? So there's two rules, right, that I tell people. So number one, we don't want that to happen anyway, right? We don't want that to happen, so we have to put stuff in place. But sometimes it does happen, even if you put in these kind of systematic things. And one thing I tell all the closers is if you ever get anything that's not to do with the price, you have to ask a question back as soon as possible, right? Because all you're doing is passing the pressure back to them, right? So they've objected, they've said something that they don't even give a shit about. To give themselves some time, your job is to get it back onto them. So do you want to give me an example, Ryan, of an objection? So I'm going, Ryan, okay, so you're looking at 60K upfront investment or 80K we do over 10 months, so 8K a month.
Um, we just do the classic. Oh, and so what does that get me after you've just pitched for 10 minutes?
What do you mean?
Yeah, like how many like leads do I get per month?
Yeah, we just went through that, John. So
I already
I
don't know what to say, so yeah.
see, and I'm just putting the pressure on you, and it's kind of
Yeah.
awkward, right? But I would still jump in. I'd be like, John, we've been through that. Are you saying that you didn't understand everything I just went through?
Hmm.
Now you feel fucking stupid because, like, if you didn't, you would have asked me in the call. You wouldn't have let it keep going. So now you look fucking stupid, right? So I'm also not doing that in an arrogant way. But as soon as you say anything other than the price or anything to do with it, I'm just going to say, what do you mean? Sorry, can you explain that? Did you not hear that before? Or am I wrong? Right?
Hmm.
Something like that, just to take the pressure off, right? So that's number one. That, like, I've actually found it's crazy that just doing that, just throwing it back at them with a question straight away will actually obliterate a lot of they're not objections, they're just smoke screens. So they'll just kind of they'll just fade away because you just pass it back to them, right? So it's really cool that that happens. Now the other way, which is essentially the best method, I'm going to say, is moving from the pitch, the end of the pitch, into the close of bringing up price and doing that in a systematic fashion, right? And I found this literally works on all offers, right? And so the way we do it is this. So we go, Ryan, that's it in terms of the pitch. That's everything you're going to receive, all the value, everything there. So is it, have you got any questions or clarifications based on everything you've just said?
Nope, I'm all good.
Perfect. And before I go into price, what I just showed you, there's kind of no point showing you the price unless you actually are in the market for this. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah, no, honestly, it sounds really good. Just kind of curious numbers at this point.
Got it. Are you absolutely sure that there's no more questions?
Yeah, no more questions. We're good to go.
Oh, okay, perfect. Now I put on the screen the price. Okay, Ryan, as you can see, 60K upfront or 80K paid over 10 months. Okay, so I guess at this point, all I'm going to ask is, are we looking at a no, this doesn't work for you? Or are we looking at a yes, and we can look at next steps? Well, I've essentially tied you down. So like
Yeah.
you feel stupid. You can't ask a question again about what you've seen. You've
Hmm.
also told me it really works for you. And now I've even brought back the yes or no in a kind of light-hearted manner for you to just, oh shit, I'm gonna have to fucking say yes or no.
Yeah.
And so I also won't apply so much pressure after that point, right? Because all it does is put you in a position of, right, do these numbers work? And now I'm able to kind of work with you. So, and if I sense hesitation, I'll say, don't worry. Let's break it down like this. 60K up front. Is that manageable for you anyway? Right? Let's figure that out. No, it isn't. Okay, well that's off the occasion. Now we've got 80K. Usually done over 10 months at 8K. Is that manageable? Is that something that you know, attainable you could do right now without putting you in a bad financial position? Right? And then we work on that price. You say, well, do you know what, Rich? I get it. And look, the value lines up. 8K, yeah, I could do it, but it'd be stretching. I'm not sure, right? And then I work with you. I'm like, cool. So if I said 6K a month, but we did it over 12 to 14 months, like, would that be more appropriate? Yes. Right. And so we're literally all we're doing is handling, and they're not objections, they're just like the reality of the situation. And I'm working with you on it. Right.
Mhm.
So that's how you do it, folks.
I think like something there that was very important for me, like most recently when I was taking calls, is like after you pitch, just being like, it's not even like a tactic or anything. It's just so honest and transparent. It's like, so listen, like we went through everything. I mean, is this something you want to do? How do you feel? Like you could tell me no, I don't give a shit. Like just trying to like gauge where people are at and just like give them an opportunity to be like, nah, not really what I want, as opposed to just like kind of going in and pitching and then trying to like handle their objections. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things that's really important to say it with, again, like it's like a tonality thing, but it's again the reality of the situation, just like super empathetic, like, hey man, we went through literally everything. This is the whole spiel. This is how it's gonna look for you. Are you interested or no? It just gives people an opportunity like then to ask questions or just kind of like give you a no. And then if it is a yes, like you said, kind of tie everything off, make sure like the process as itself is tied off. once you say the price, all you're talking about is price then. And I think that even just like listening to so many calls, like you don't realize how few people do that. Well, they'll just like fire off like the weirdest tangents. And then people ask questions based on something they said in the tangent, which takes them another, and they just create objections for themselves. It's like just creating like these weird loops where you're just like Jordan Belfort says, like off the straight line, you're just fucking flying off, talking about a bunch of tangents, going nowhere, and then creating problems for yourself.
Fuck, man. No, it's so true. And I think people have this innate ability when someone asks a question and it's an admin, it's about something that happened before. They think this over explanation is going to really put it in place for them. Now this'll let me explain. So what will happen, the guarantee. So what will happen if this happens, then we could do this, and then obviously that hasn't happened before. So if you think about this bit, blah, blah, and it's like, bro, you just lost the whole sale. No
Mhm.
one wanted you to talk for 10 minutes about that. Sounds actually everything but confident because you're not concise. Right?
It's crazy hearing like good examples of that versus like bad examples because like you don't even think about it. It's like, oh, does this come with this? And then a closer could either just be like, yeah, it does, and then this happens. Sometimes this happens, and we can do this, and then whenever that happens, we will do this. But like then it's fine because that's guaranteed. It just fucking throws you for a weird loop as opposed to, does it come with this? Yeah, that's it.
It's crazy to think how just answering the question, just listen, answering just that and shutting the fuck up is going to be the best thing to do. Right?
100%.
Um, I know in my example just before, I utilized how you would like bring back the yes or no. So how you kind of refer to it. So, you say, John, now you know the value, how it's all delivered, and now you know the price. In your opinion, we're looking at a no, this isn't for you, or a yes, let's look at next steps. So not everyone would want to do that. Not everyone is doing the yes or no, which is fine. I think another good way, by the way, and I've seen other people talk about this. I think it's called like the 1 to 10 tactic. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but it's where you ask someone where they are 1 to 10. I think it's actually a good method to use after price. I don't like it before price because it's like, hey, without knowing the price, just tell me kind of where you are 1 to 10 and whether kind of how much you like it. And people, the way they answer is, well, it doesn't really fucking matter because it really comes down to price, how much, whether I'm going to like it. So I can tell you I like it and then the price is wrong. Cool. Now you know it's just price objection. But like, if you show them the price and then say, now you know how it's delivered, now you know the price on a scale of 1 to 10, one being you're not interested at all now, and 10 being send me the invoice, where are you, John? The fucking coolest thing about that is if they're a 9 or a 10, it's essentially them just saying, send me the invoice. And you can say, cool, where do you want it sent? Right? That's the opening the door to have it happen. If they say 6, 7, 8, the obvious question is, what would make you a 9 or 10? And then for us, that's really cool because we can now offer the solution that brings them up, right? Instead of handling that objection, we have multiple solutions, the bridge concept, right? Now, if they're obviously like a 5 or below, like you might as well just get control.
Yeah, the one thing that you said that always kind of pops into my mind, because I think you said like the word like tactic, right? The 1 to 10 thing. And I think a lot of times people see shit like that and they'll be like, oh, like that's all I have to do. I just need to ask them where they're at in the scale of 1 to 10. And it's like the goal is to essentially like create an entire process in which you're just like, again, navigating to a decision at the end. And then asking that question is just sort of like the mechanism in which you use to do that. But I think people will rely on shit like that too much and then like not know how to like actually navigate it, right? And so I think like really what's most important, with this whole thing again is of course like having an actual good sales call before and not getting to the end and be like, oh yeah, well I ask him like, 1 to 10 and then remind him he's looking for a yes or no and think people are magically gonna say yes or no. I think with all like how the podcasts we do, we piece together the entire like sales process. And I think at the end of the day, like everything sort of intertwines with each other. And so again, just the principle of like not relying on like some little tactic to do it, but creating a dynamic of the call in which a decision sort of makes sense. and then just knowing the best ways to go about that without shooting yourself in the foot and going on a bunch of tangents and trying these little tactics that actually don't move the needle for a sale.
Although you never know, Brian. They could do everything fucked up and then they can use the 1 to 10 and the yes or no and like boom, they've done it. You know? It is kind of funny though. Sometimes we see like with people working with us one to one and we'll like just implement an intro, like a setting of intentions, yes or no, and like kind of get an increase in close percentage. And they're like, fucking hell, I used the yes or no and like it's magic. And that's kind of what you feel first implementing this stuff. And then you realize it wasn't actually just that tactic. It was just this sudden kind of increase in systems, kind of organization of a call, being upfront, saying what you're looking for. That is the foundation of what actually worked, not the tactic, so to speak. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's actually a really good point too, because like what people we work with like hands on, and like some people will just like implement one or two things and they just fucking get it immediately because they already had like some level of like base competency, and it's just a matter of like adding structure into it. It's like I'll listen to calls, for example, like I have specific ones in my mind, but like it's just, like they completely just fucking shoot themselves in the foot the entire time. But they'll be like, "Oh, I tried like a Hormozy no-based question at the end, like I thought it would work and close them," and it's not necessarily the case all the time. So I think at the end of the day, you still have to have like some level of competency to be able to like pull shit off like that. And it's just a matter of like adding in one or two things to not shoot yourself in the foot, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah. No, you spot on. And there's one more tactic that I see a lot of now. And this has come up by the way, because like I review so many calls every week, it's kind of mind-boggling. But one thing I've just seen this like habit of, I don't know, it's habit. It's like everyone is suddenly learning gap selling. Like it's this tactic, like it's this thing that has to be there. And so people learn it, but they don't learn it with this understanding of kind of why that might apply and what makes it work. Is it just that, or is it kind of the intentions or whatever? And I start to now see people go start the call with, cool, John. So what I want to understand is where you are now, where you want to be, and what the gap is in between, and how we can fill that gap. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like you don't just tell them. You might as well say, I just learned gap selling. I'm gonna try and just do it on you and tell you my methods before I even get into things. Like fucking mental. But anyway,
Mhm.
that's how sales is, that's how tactics are learned. It's the same in the fitness world. It's like, oh, that guy's shredded. I've seen him taking that supplement. I'm going to use that supplement. So that must be the secret as to why I'm not fucking shredded. Like
Yeah.
you're a retard, bro.
That's like 100% a perfect analogy of like sort of like articulating the point that I was trying to make, where it's like people always think that they can just like try like one or two little tactics. And
Mm.
I just think that's a bad way to look about it, right? It's the same thing with like sales, right? You have to understand like the underlying principles of like why and how things work and, create a process that's conducive to making a sale by using them, as opposed to just like picking and choosing little tactics from everywhere and trying to incorporate it because it just comes across completely directionless a lot of the times.
But when you first get into sales, it's a foreign concept. Everything's shiny object syndrome. So you're like,
Yeah.
oh, gap selling. Oh, yes or no. Oh, future pacing. Oh, goals. Oh, all this shit. Oh, 1 to 10. And it's all shiny objects. And it takes some time to just understand, okay, so why is someone successful doing yes or no, but never talks about gap selling? Why is someone who's not doing the yes or no, but talks about goals? Why are these people all successful in their own way? It's kind of the foundation.
To just kind of build off that last point and end it off, where I think people would maybe listen to this and think like the 1 to 10 is a little tactic, but like the underlying principle is being able to like tie literally every other reason off that they wouldn't want to move forward before the price, and then just being super concise at the end, and then just like that 1 to 10 is just like a little way to like push them over when they're like on the 1 yard line, as opposed to just like your saving grace of fucking up a call and saying 1 to 10.
For sure. Tying down everyone knows tying down. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Tie these motherfuckers down. John, I am not showing you the price until you tell me you fucking want this. Okay, you want it? Perfect. Let's talk about price. Even do that.